Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of NYJF TV. We're coming at you live from Jason Koeppel's apartment because we couldn't stand for another minute to be outside of that dump MetLife Stadium. Jay, we were there on Sunday. Horrible game, 9-6 loss, probably one of the worst games I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. And to make matters even worse, the stadium atmosphere is just a complete joke. You wrote some scathing articles this week. Can you tell our listeners about that?
Well, first we're going to do something we don't typically do on set. Kev, this team is making us drink. Cheers.
Cheers
to another lost season.
L7.
L7 tailgate. It's all we got left. Cheers to everybody. Now, with that said, the stadium is just a disaster at this point. This isn't something that's new. This isn't something that's brought upon by wins and losses. This is just something that has been, talked about amongst Jet fans since the stadium opened. I remember the first step that I took into that stadium, into my new seats in, I believe it was 115C the first year that the stadium opened. I looked around and I said, this is what we got for $1.8 billion. And, you figure much like Citi Field, when a new stadium opens up, you find out what's working, what's not working, you adjust. The Mets, they did a great job. They heard what the fans had to say about the stadium when it opened up. They weren't happy. It wasn't a home field. There was a lot of Dodger stuff, and there just wasn't enough things that were going on in that stadium that were saying this is a Mets home game. So they listened to the fans and they went ahead and they fixed the issues. I don't doubt that the Jets know what's going on, that they don't know that the fans are upset. I just don't think that they necessarily know how to fix it. So I wrote these articles hoping that we would get enough comments from people to give them an idea of of the fact that this isn't just me, this isn't just Kevin talking, this is a real serious problem amongst the fan base.
It isn't even just Jet fans. It's Jets fans and Giants fans.
Giant fans the same way. I have a ton of friends who are Giant fans who hate the stadium just as much as I have a ton of friends who are Yankee fans. I'm not personally a Yankee fan, I'm a Met fan, but I have a ton of friends who are Yankee fans. We'll put some of the quotes on the screen coming up soon, of people who feel the same way about Yankee Stadium. This is an issue that's been going on since these new stadiums have been opened up. But the thing is, Kev, we've traveled all around the NFL, right? Just broke news today. They just broke ground on a new stadium in LA. That place looks sick.
Beautiful.
Sick.
Beautiful.
We were in I was in Miami. The place is amazing. They took an old stadium. They, revitalized it. They put this crazy structure on the roof and everything, and the seats are all teal and it's beautiful, and the Dolphins got a beautiful, what I would consider to be basically a brand new stadium. Arizona. I mean, we were out there. There's no doubting the fact that when you're in that building, that is an Arizona Cardinals home game. The crowd is loud. They have a roof. They got it for half the price that we got it for. And you just keep traveling around. Even Cleveland. We were in Cleveland.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns have this nice stadium that's, you're there. It was loud. They hadn't won a game yet. If that game had taken place, if that was a Jets-Browns game in that exact situation in the rain in MetLife Stadium with the Jets having a winless record, I mean, I can't even imagine how few people would be there. The place was packed. It wasn't sold out, but there were a lot of people there. And, they were loud and they were into the game. And that's because when you're there, you go around, there's just, I can't believe I'm saying this, but, the Browns obviously know how to get their fans engaged in the game. Dallas, we were in Dallas. Yep. That stadium is a mecca.
That was an event.
It was an event. It was a mecca. So, I mean, it's like Philadelphia, Baltimore. I can say the same thing about all these stadiums. The only one that I can't say that about is MetLife Stadium, and I know that they have their set of challenges because it's the only stadium in the NFL where there's two teams that are playing there. But at the same time, you gotta figure something out. You gotta figure out a way to make it so that it's not just a shell with gray seats and just expect that that's going to be enough. It's not enough. So I mean, we are, anyone that wants to read, all the issues, I'm not going to go into them again because I've been talking about it all week, but anybody that wants to read about all the issues that I have with the stadium itself, feel free, we'll post the link on all of our social media, again, we'll retweet it and everything, put it on Facebook so everybody can see, my experience as both a club seat, my family has seats in the Chase Club, but also as a person who has seats in the upper deck in section 340. It's two completely different experiences, and it's anybody who sits upstairs, it's just not good enough.
And I'm so glad that you just brought that up, because you said a little while ago that you do think that the organization is aware that something is wrong, that the fans aren't happy. But I don't know if they do realize that, because I think that they've catered to a certain type of fan, the fan that wants the luxury boxes, the club seats, and for those people, I think that a lot of those people actually do enjoy their experience when they go to games. Some of the celebrities and whatnot, they're getting the experience, they're getting their $15 Cosmos at the bar, they're not even watching the game half the time. So those people, yeah, they get right in, they get right out. Those people are fine. And those are probably the people that Woody Johnson's hearing the most from. The true diehard fans like us, we're the ones getting shut out in the stadium.
Right. Well, those are the people that had, the seats all over the place in Giant Stadium. The people who were used to the way it used to be. Now, look, as times change, things change, and you're never going to get things back to the way they used to be. And I understand that. You're not going to have $25 tickets anymore. You're not going to have certain things going on in that stadium anymore. You're not going to have the spirals anymore and all the stuff that went on over there. And that's just, those memories are just going to have to be stored away, and you could say, at least we can say we saw it, right? A new generation of fans is not going to be able to say that. But with that said, you shouldn't have to be rich in order to be able to enjoy going to a football game. It's completely unfair. You shouldn't have to shell out $700 for a ticket and $25,000. I shouldn't be taking phone calls in my house when they're moving into this place with a Jets ticket rep telling me that if we want to keep our seats, we need to send them $288,000. I mean, it's absurd, and something's got to be done, because I'll tell you what's going to happen is first of all, they killed the home field environment. I mean, it's just there is no atmosphere anymore. It just doesn't exist. And so you're going to take, as time goes on, because it's only gotten worse, right? I mean, the first opening, and people will say, oh, well, we were contending in 2010. We had a team, that went to the AFC Championship. It wasn't about that. Obviously, wins will gloss over some of these things, and it's not going to be, if you're going to the game and you're entertained for the entire game with a winning team that, goes 6-2 and dominates at home, yeah, you're not going to write articles about how much the stadium sucks. But if, the team is in a rut for 6 straight years where they haven't made the playoffs, combined with how terrible the stadium is, then you're going to hear about it, because you can't expect people to shell out that kind of money that they're shelling out, especially, now let's talk about the other article real quick. Yep. The economics of it. It makes no financial sense anymore to have season tickets. It makes no sense, because if you're going to take your money out of your pocket and invest in something, the only real reason to want to do that is, for one of two things. You want to sit in your same section every week because you're used to sitting the exact same people around you, and it's a family atmosphere like it used to be in Giant Stadium. But that doesn't exist anymore because of StubHub and everything. People are selling their tickets. You get visiting team fans next to you, so be it. So that's no longer a part of having season tickets. And the second thing is, it guarantees you playoff tickets, but we haven't had a playoff game since 2002 at home. So, I mean, I can't figure out why it makes sense to pay for preseason tickets, to pay for PSLs, and to pay $300 for my club seats or $150 up in the upper deck, when at this past game, I paid $150. The guy sitting next to me paid $15. He didn't pay for PSLs. He didn't pay for preseason tickets. All he did was he took $15 out of his pocket that morning, bought some tickets, and sat next to me. 1/10 of what I paid, not just for my face value of my ticket, but also all the other stuff. So you might as well just cherry pick. You might as well do what they're doing and go on a StubHub. And if the Jets are good, you pay a little bit of a premium, but you're not going to be gambling with money and throwing it out in advance when there's no reason to.
Do you think part of this problem, though, is that this organization knows that these games are so ingrained in a lot of our lives? Like, I've had season tickets in my family going back to Shea Stadium. I'm sure you have. I mean, you've been going to games for how long? Probably about the same time, even longer, right?
My family's had tickets since '85, so.
Okay, so for us, I mean, no matter what, I feel like I'm going to be going to these games.
Right.
Okay, no matter how bad things get, I'm going to be there.
Right.
And I feel like that's given the Jets an opportunity to just completely.
Right, but not anymore. Because you want to know why, Kev? You can still go.
And that's where a lot of fans are now starting to get fed up and realize, hey, tickets are available for $10, $15. Why am I paying for preseason? Why am I paying for the right to buy postseason tickets that are not even going to be there?
Exactly. So it just doesn't make sense anymore.
All right, so the other thing that I want to talk about is some of the comments that have been said over the last 24 hours. Mike McCagnon, he finally met with the media for the first time since preseason, And there were some alarming things that I thought came out of this, especially in regards to the power structure on this team, who's calling the shots. First thing I want to talk about, one quote. I'm sure there are plays he'd like to have back, but there are others where he does give effort. All about this guy right here, Darrelle Revis. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, at the end of the day, the guy's being paid $17 million. Tell me any other employee of any multi-billion-dollar corporation who gets paid $17 million that just decides when he's going to give effort or not. I mean, I just never seen anything like it. It's like he doesn't want to tackle. When he doesn't play well, he goes into the locker room afterwards and he makes excuses. I'm old, all this nonsense.
Body's breaking
Darrell,
down.
you're 31 years old, okay? I don't want to hear it. You're 31. Darrell Green was playing effectively till he was 42. Deion Sanders, Pro Bowler, age 34. Champ Bailey, Pro Bowler, age 34. You're 31 years old. Stop it. I understand you had a knee injury a couple years ago. Didn't hurt you when you were playing on New England. Didn't hurt you last year so much. You're not trying. You're not tackling. You look at the film, the game film. What is that? What kind of effort is that? So, obviously, Maccagnan's seeing it. I've never heard a GM come out and admit that he's we're in one breath he's saying we're happy with how he's playing, and in the next breath he's saying the guy's not even giving effort. On certain plays he's taking plays off, and taking plays off is a serious indictment of a lack of respect for your team, for your teammates, for your coaches, for your general manager who showed the good faith in giving you $17 million, even for your owner. It's a disgrace.
Do these quotes from Maccagnan make a little bit more sense when you start to factor in the fact that, what they're saying is that Woody Johnson may have impacted the Jets wanting to bring Revis back into the fold?
Well, that's all about the power structure that's going on right now. Clearly, Woody Johnson is sticking his nose in as he's done, throughout his tenure with the Jets. Sometimes. He makes moves that he thinks that the fans are going to love, and as Joe likes to say on Talk Jets Radio, when you make moves for the fans, you're going to be sitting with the fans. Well, I mean, look, you're in a New York market, right? So, and you're playing in the same building as the Giants. They got their rings, and you're trying to live up to a certain thing. And I understand what Woody Johnson's trying to do. He wants a winner. I don't doubt for a second that Woody Johnson wants to win. This is his. He's very passionate about what's going on here. But the thing is, he's not a football guy. So it's the equivalent of if we would have won billions of dollars somehow in the lottery and bought the Jets, we would have an idea of what we wanted to do. But we're not necessarily football. We're not scouts. We're not football guys. We can watch and we can discuss and break down game film and look at things that we think are going on. But I wouldn't trust you or myself to be the general manager of the New York Jets. We go up in arms and we say, this guy, we want to sign this guy, trade for this guy, do this, do that. But you have to put your faith into, at a certain point, into the people that you're hiring to make these decisions. You are not a football guy, Woody Johnson. You are the furthest thing from a football guy. I've met you. You didn't play football. You don't coach football. You're not a scout. You're Woody Johnson. You didn't even build your grandfather's company, man. You inherited your money. And that's fine. I don't begrudge him that. It's all good. But, this is sadness, by the way. I can't believe that. But, but at the end of the day, Woody, you got to delegate, responsibility, and you got to delegate your authority because, you hired Maccagnan to do a job. Don't put handcuffs on him. Let him do his job. This is why you hired him. This is why you hired football guys to bring him in. And
and that's another thing I just feel lied to about. Aside from the PSLs, when these guys were brought in, Maccagnan and Bowles, we were sold that they were going to be the guys in charge of the football operations. That Bowles was going to be a no-nonsense disciplinarian. Control of the defense. We haven't seen any of that from these guys at this point.
Totally off the rails. This is a circus, a full-blown 3-ring circus. Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey style. Madison Square Garden, give me the popcorn and let's sit back and watch the 3-headed and bearded lady. I've never seen anything like it. It's every other year with this, man. And it's I don't want to be this negative guy who's got airplanes and billboards and all this stuff. we're just passionate fans. Like
we don't enjoy talking about.
You know how much we would rather be sitting here breaking down game film and talking about how excited we are that we're 7-3 and we're going into a game in a week against the Patriots that has implications on the division. That's what we want to talk about. We want to enjoy it. We have been spending our money, spending our time, traveling the world watching this team, traveling all over the place, and it's like, come on, guys. Like, get it together. At some point, we got to stop this every other year, and that's why, look, nobody from our website right now, nobody from our site is screaming, fire this guy, get rid of this guy. We want you guys to get control of what's going on. Like players need to be showing up to practice and to meetings and giving their effort and out there showing the fans that they're putting in the same type of effort and they care as much as we do, or else you're going to get the kind of reaction that you've gotten over the past couple of weeks, which is screaming bloody murder. I mean, we're fed up. I'm sick and tired of watching it every other year. And we supported McCagnon when they brought him in. We supported Bowles when they brought him in. And
I still do. I still support both these guys. Like you said, we want them to succeed. All right. But then looking at this quote today, or what's come out today about Todd Bowles, that he's afraid to bench Ryan Fitzpatrick because he thinks he's going to lose the veterans in that locker room.
I mean, it's just crazy.
How do you explain this?
You can't explain it. You could try to explain it, and you can explain it by saying things that you don't want to hear. I mean, it's beyond obvious that it's got to be Woody Johnson, right? I mean, it's got like Woody Johnson. I think really wants to win this game. I think
McCagnon said it's Woody Johnson.
Yep. Yeah, well,
pretty much. He said that him and Bowles are on equal footing, and they both report to Woody Johnson. Why do they need to report to Woody Johnson for anything?
Craziest structure I ever heard. And if it's not Woody Johnson, that's even worse. Because I'm going to tell you something. If players and we saw it during so we talked about this before they even signed Fitz. When Brandon Marshall's got his figures and it was all fun and cute and everything, and Nick Mangold and they're going out to Ranger games.
That's where it all started. That's where it all started.
If the players are going to dictate to ownership, to management, and to the coaches who their quarterback is, and throw a hissy fit if that guy's not playing, you got a major problem on your hands, New York Jets. And I'm talking about a blow out the entire thing and start over problem. And I'm not kidding. That means if that's the case, if the players have taken full control, if the inmates are truly running the asylum right now, Bowles has to go, Mack has to go, and quite frankly, Woody Johnson. I mean, I know nobody's going to pressure you into selling, but my God, man, that is the worst case scenario, because once you lose a locker room like that, you never get it back.
Well, that's why I want to see Bryce Petty starting against the Patriots.
He has to.
Let's find out who the guys are that are going to bail out once the head coach makes a decision that they don't like.
Good.
And let's get rid of them at the end of the season.
Absolutely.
And we move forward.
Or deactivate them now and let the young guys play.
That should have been done weeks ago.
Yeah, because if people are not going to play, then I don't care. As a fan, I want to know that the guys who are on the field are giving the max effort, because we always give our effort in the crowd. We pay for these tickets. We go every week. We get there at 8:00 in the morning. We don't expect wins every week, because that's not realistic, but at the bare minimum we expect the max effort. If you're not going to give that, then get out of here. Pack your bags and get the hell out of here. Nobody wants you here. I don't care who that is. I'm just going to bring up names. I'm not saying these are the people that's the problem, but I'm just saying from the top of the roster, from the Brandon Marshalls all the way down to the bottom of the roster, if you're not giving max effort, pack your bags and get the hell out of here. Nobody wants you here. Okay, so it's time, and you're exactly right. If Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting, we know that the inmates have taken over, and that means the cries for Todd Bowles' head, and quite frankly, everybody. It means you lost the locker room and you're gutless.
But if Todd Bowles was not the one who wanted to bring these guys in, and it was from Woody Johnson, how can we really blame Todd Bowles if he's forced to have this roster that he didn't really even want a part of?
Well, that's the problem. It's like, You're in a catch-22 at that point, because if Woody Johnson is forcing all this stuff to go on, and it doesn't matter who you have here, GM and coach,
it's never going to change. It's never going to change
unless you get a guy in that is man enough to stand up to Woody Johnson and who has a resume that the guy has no problem looking at Woody Johnson and saying, "Get the hell out of here, or I'm gone." A guy like Jim Harbaugh, a guy like Tom Coughlin, And Tom Coughlin, a guy who's had success in New York, who is an actual disciplinarian, who will not stand for you being late to meetings, who will not stand for you not showing up. The man is all about accountability. And, you know, if they can't right the ship at this point, if they can't get the locker room together, if they can't get one voice in that locker room and everybody is, you know, rallying around that one voice, then changes have to be made. He has 6 games to get this together, Todd Bowles, really, and to prove that he is capable. And if he's not, if Ryan Fitzpatrick is in there against the Patriots, might as well leave town too, Todd. I'm serious, you know, because right now what it's all about is the future. We're not going to the playoffs this year. Even if we rallied and somehow by some miracle, which, I mean, come on, we won the last 6 games and went 9-7. We're still not making the playoffs. Not with that, you know, not with the guys in the West, all 7-2, 7-3, whatever they are. So the season's over. We all can accept that. And now the Jets fans, what we want to embrace a full rebuild, and that means young guys playing.
So you don't want Tony Romo, is what you're saying?
No. No, I'm wearing my Brett Favre jersey just to remind everybody what happened last time we brought in, you know, a guy like that. I mean, you know, Brett Favre, we started off 8-3 that year, but, you know, he was only here for 1 year. He got hurt, and, you know, I mean, we all know that story. So Tony Romo, spending all that money on a guy like Tony Romo to, you know, put him behind a patchwork offense, we have a lot of serious problems and a lot of serious holes we need to fill before we can bring in a veteran quarterback for that kind of money like Tony Romo with an injury history. So, I mean, it's like, you know, I've heard all kinds of names out there. Jay Cutler, you know, the list goes on, but those guys make no sense for our team as currently constructed. You know, right now, what we need to do is we need to trim the fat, cut guys like Revis, get rid of guys who are over the hill, you know, the Giacomini's, I hate to even say it, but it may be time to move on from Nick Mangold at his salary, you know, guys like that. And it's time to really free up some money, stockpile draft picks, trade a Sheldon Richardson, let's get some picks for him, maybe even trade down in the draft, let's just stockpile picks and start rebuilding this roster, and then maybe in 2 years, when we've rebuilt the offensive line, we've rebuilt the secondary and stuff like that with good, young, cheap players, then you look for maybe a veteran quarterback who may free up, and you know, if you draft well and if you bring in enough guys, then that's the time to start thinking about that. Or maybe you hit lightning in a bottle. Maybe Hackenberg turns out to be what you hope he is, or maybe Bryce Petty turns out to be what you hope he is. But enough of this Tony Romo talk, please. Let's move on from that.
So if we are committing to a full rebuild, which I do think is necessary, there are enough holes on this roster. I don't think we're going to be contending for a Super Bowl anytime soon. If we are committing to a full rebuild, which I think is necessary, are you okay with Todd Bowles in charge of that rebuild?
We'll find out over the next 6 games. We'll see if he can reclaim this locker room and if he can put his stamp on this team. Todd, you're a local guy. You're a great guy. Nobody's rooting against you. We're rooting for you. Get control of this locker room, please. If the next, you got to make an example out of somebody. The next guy who steps out of line, the next guy who thinks he's bigger than the team, cut him.
Put your foot down.
Deactivate him. Don't bench him for a quarter, okay? You know, that we did that against the Giants. Look at what it got you. Got you nothing. You wound up benching the guy the next year against the Dolphins for the same exact amount of time.
I think the fans and the players would both respect if he put his foot down.
Oh, for sure. Listen, we're not going to dump on the whole team. There's certain guys who are giving max effort, you know, that young guys. There are guys on this team that are looking up to I'm sure, are looking up to Todd Bowles saying, come on, dude, we're giving our effort. These guys aren't. Bench him. What else do we have to do to get playing time if this guy's not even trying?
And part of that is so concerning because I don't know if you heard Steve Young, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, when he said, if it does reach the head coach, it's already gone too far.
Exactly.
And when you have guys like David Harris, Nick Mangold, Eric Decker, I mean, I know he's injured now, but Marshall, all these guys in the locker room that are supposed to be your leaders, and they're not leading, that is setting your coach up for such failure.
Well, clearly there's no leaders in our locker room. Clearly. I mean, you know, the guys that you expect would be leaders, the Mo Wilkersons, the Sheldon Richardsons, the Darrell Revises, you know.
And it sucks because throughout training camp, all we talked about was how we do have the leadership.
Yeah.
We were on the sidelines for so long, and it looked like it was there. Young guys were coming off onto the sidelines, and you had the veterans coaching them up. Wilkerson wasn't practicing at the time. He was schooling some of the young defensive linemen. Revis was coaching these guys up. It seemed like we did have the leadership. So what has gone wrong in these first 10 weeks? It's collapsed.
It's character, man. You know, it's a combination of a really tough schedule in the beginning of the year with the losses piling up, and then you find you find out a lot more about the character of a player in losses than you do in wins.
Yeah, you do.
When your team's winning, you have a beautiful situation. Everybody gets on the same page and you rally. That's why a win streak is such a great thing.
So you think the 10-6 season last year kind of glossed over maybe some of the issues that we had this year?
Just like it glossed over the stadium issues, man.
Yep.
10-6 will do a lot of things to make you think that things are a lot better than they really are. But as we found out in Buffalo the last game of the season, just like we're finding out this year, there's a lot of issues on this team, a lot of holes, a lot of things that need to be fixed. They talk about competitive rebuild, very difficult thing to do. And I give, you notice how nobody's really calling for McCagnon's head, right?
No.
Because, you can almost understand, it must be very difficult to do his job if he has no authority over the head coach and if the owner is stepping in and taking authority over him on personnel moves. Like, what do you want the guy to do? He's drafted. He could have. He could have. He can.
He would have been right if he did.
He can.
To be completely honest.
Listen, if the owner, this is his dream job, right? Like, it's in his where he grew up. He's been overlooked for most of his career for a lot of these jobs. The Jets gave him an opportunity. He was brought in here on the advice of Charlie Casserly. The football guys brought him in, and we all supported him, all of us.
Yeah.
We were McCagnon. How high were we? We were buying him cups of coffee before the season. It's like, how high were we on Mike McCagnon? And
absolutely.
I don't want to dump on the guy, man. It's been 2 years. I feel a lot better off with him than I did with Idzik, clearly. So, I think that he certainly deserves more time. And
we were pretty confident coming into the season with the roster that he assembled. We thought he rebuilt the linebackers. He added some speed there, which we needed. He got some great young wideouts in this draft. Even undrafted Robbie Anderson. We've been talking about him for the last couple of weeks. He's been shining. I thought he has done some things well.
Even a guy like now that Jordan Jenkins is back and has his legs under him a little bit, he's been making some plays. Lorenzo Malden's been balling out a little bit now. They got him back in the game. And they're giving him plays. And like you said, the wide receivers have been restocked. Even some of the offensive linemen that you were expecting not very much out of. If I would have told you before the season that Mangold would sit out a whole bunch of games and that Clady would be on IR, you would have thought that we would have had the worst offensive line in football. They've been stepping up and they've been playing some football. So it's not all terrible. And you try and calm yourself down in certain times, but there's. So again, like I said, it's not all about wins and losses, but sometimes. When you see certain things, it drives you nuts. And, lack of effort drives me nuts, lack of accountability drives me nuts, and lack of leadership drives me nuts. And right now, we have all three of those things that are going on, and you can't win like that. It's impossible.
Couldn't have said it any better. It's not about the wins and losses. All right, and not just from what we see on the field. That was sadness.
Fumble.
You're doing full Fitzpatrick right now.
Absolutely.
It's not about the wins and losses, right? Not just from what we're seeing on the field, but also going back to the stadium issue. Throughout the 90s, when I was a kid going to these games, the team sucked. They were horrible. But it was some of the best times I've ever had in my life. And now, on top of seeing a horrible product on the field, we can't even enjoy the games. So it just makes matters 10 times worse.
Well, you like to bring it back to the way it used to be, but it's never going to be like that again. But it can be better. That's the thing. And so that's why, I hope New York Jets, front office, Neil Glatt, Seth Rabinowitz, all the guys down there, Woody Johnson, please, I want to help. I'm a fan, I'm clearly passionate about this stuff. I'm in two separate sections, as I said before. I have a unique perspective on this stuff. I want to help you. I don't want to be a destructive person who's kind of always putting you guys down, but you guys have to want the help.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of NYJF TV. Please be sure to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter at NYJF TV. We appreciate all the likes, all the feedbacks, all the comments. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great week without some Jets football to stress you out this weekend. Enjoy, guys.
Do Hooters girls make your beer stay colder and your wings taste better? Do they make the greatest month of football ever even greater? Yes. Yes, they do.